Hello and welcome to News Round, a recap of stories in the week. I'm Tenyola Shoboale, the headlines. Tension as protests and youths in Plateau State storm State House of Assembly, Government House with victims' corpses. Gunmen attack Nigerian Defense Academy, Kaduna, kill 2 officers, abduct another. United Nations pledges support to Nigerian government as families of victims of the 2011 bombing in Abuja ask government to tackle insecurity. Plus, the Pentagon warns of impending threats in Afghanistan, citing difficulties in final stage of evacuation. We begin News Round in Plateau State, where the state government has reimposed an indefinite 24-hour curfew on Jos North local government area. According to the government, the move is to calm frayed nerves after youths in the area took to unconventional means to drive home their demands for better protection against bandits' relentless attacks.
It came like a bad dream, with gunmen invading the Zangam district in Jos North local government area. That attack left 36 people dead, most of them women and children. Those that were trapped in the houses were burned beyond recognition, while the dead were taken to the mortuary.
They cut off our door. They enter inside. They kill people that they can kill. They burned the remaining one. It was just by mistake. I jumped fire, just like water.
Angered by this, the youths take to the major streets to protest what they describe as a lack of security that has now left many of their loved ones dead. To make their points abundantly clear, first, they visit the Plateau State Specialist Hospital morgue, where some bodies were deposited. They evacuated them and headed to the State House Assembly.
15 bodies. Well, so multiple. In fact, we are still trying to find out and do some physical postmortem to be able to tell you exactly the kind of injury and the mechanism of injury and the weaponry. We are yet to determine exactly. But I believe that by the time we go to do one-on-one check, we'll be able to give that with all certainty.
Thereafter, they proceed to the government house, leading to palpable tension in the city center, a move that caused the state government to reimpose a 24-hour curfew in Jos North area indefinitely. None of the leaders from the State Assembly were available to talk to the protesters, even when reached on phone.
The government should come out and identify with us that actually our people have died. When that incident happened, they said we killed people. They were particular to some people and the youths. So we are saying if this one was done yesterday, let them also make the same statement as to who perpetrated those acts and let them be arrested. And then even the breach that is to link the community, they still went there and they destroyed. It was a planned attack to kill our people. They imposed curfew on the state, and these people are taking advantage of the curfew. All our people are compliant to the curfew, but in other parts of the state, they are not compliant. And so they will go to our various houses and find us, observing the curfew, and they kill us.
The village of Zangam of Zangam district in Jos North local government area, about 10 kilometers from Jos, Plateau State capital, was attacked by suspected herdsmen on Tuesday night, leaving several people, mostly women and children, dead, with many injured and houses burned.
Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
On Tuesday, Nigerians received shocking news of an early morning attack on one of Nigeria's key military institutions, the Nigerian Defense Academy in Kaduna State. Bandits dressed in military uniforms managed to gain entry into the academy and opened fire on the officers' quarters. In the ensuing assault, they killed 2 officers, a major and a squadron leader, and thereafter took away another senior officer, a major, through a bush located close to the academy. This brazen attack is, however, not the first on the Nigerian military.
Sheer audacity of the bandits that launched the attack on the Nigerian Defense Academy is an indication that the line of not being worried has been breached. Not that other incidents of attacks in villages across the northern region is any less disturbing, but this incident hits a nerve of confidence in the efforts of the military to contain the situation.
Nigerians are expecting us to bring about peace and security in concert with other security agencies. That we will do. We can't live in fear, and we ensure that Nigerians, whatever bring fear to them before now, will be a thing of the past.
This optimism expressed by the Chief of Defense Staff was helpful in calming nerves. But when the security apparatus meant to protect citizens comes under attack, then the common man begins to wonder if the bandits can be defeated. A feeling heightened by the Kaduna State Governor, Nasir El-Rufai.
Our unanimous position is what is needed now is to wipe out the bandits. We must go into this forest. Nobody living in that forest is innocent, and just kill them all.
The same can be said of the police who have in recent times fallen victim of attacks on their stations. Cases of these happening in the east of the country. Here, the Inspector General of Police also speaks on quelling the matter.
What is seriously worrisome in the southeast is gradually being checked, and results is very positive as to the attacks and killings on security agents, assets belonging to federal government, particularly that of the military, the police, INEC, and so forth. Our ability to checkmate this lawlessness has improved, and we are getting closer to something positive.
A lot is going on in the country at the moment, with railways and other policies that show the federal government is making attempts at economic development. However, at the same time, there's so much violence that seems to water down the progress. In the end, something has to give. Many hope that peace, stability, and unity trumps over death and destruction.
Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka has been lending his voice to some burning national issues in the country, with insecurity as one of them. At a press conference in Lagos on Friday, Professor Soyinka gave his views on cattle grazing, saying the idea to go ranching is more popular among Nigerians.
Good afternoon.
It is not often you find him share his views, but when he does, it is certainly on crucial matters. Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka is worried about the freedom of speech in Nigeria and the role of the regulator in the Nigerian broadcasting space. Specific reference he gave is to the latest NBC's invitation of some China's television's anchors.
We've been watching the play of the interventions using a spearhead this decree, and so I think nobody's left in any doubt that both the spirit and the letter of this Broadcasting Commission decree have indicated clearly where the freedom of expression is being taken, and it should be stopped as quickly as possible.
The literary icon demonstrates how he feels such approach should be handled.
This kind of query, this is where it belongs. Just stick it.
From media regulation to the touchy matter of cattle grazing, ranching and grazing routes, he opposes President Buhari's approach.
Virtually the whole nation is screaming, we do not want any open cattle grazing. Whether they go by the name of cattle routes or reserves, grazing reserves, right round the entire nation, we've had opinions surmounting the antiquated modes of cattle rearing. Even the all-powerful, untouchable Mieti Allah, even they have gone on record saying that grazing, ranching is it. Ranching is what we want. And when we think all that argument, all that discussion, all that debate has been settled in rational terms, along comes a new version, rather like Decree 4. Along comes a new version of Ruga, with the president insisting on sending his agents out to go and map out the old grazing routes and recover the old grazing reserves, when governors and peoples and experts, agronomists, business people are saying, this is a business and it should be conducted in this particular way. So what is this president obsessing? Why is he obsessing about something which is being rejected right, left, and center?
Insecurity is another intervention by the Nobel laureate, who believes there is a need for a change of strategy.
We know also that our soldiers are really facing, they're taking the brunt of an unusual kind of warfare. And therefore, they require a very studied, very well-calibrated moral support. The fighting soldier, very important. But as a military, as an institution, the military is failing. And it's also our responsibility to tell them, why don't you try other methods? Why don't you try things a very different way? And if all fails, insist that you obtain help, expertise from outside, from those who've been through this before or who are going through something similar.
He laments the manner in which people are being abducted in the country, especially children in their schools, what he says is now a new form of slavery.
In this country, however, the slave trade, a very brisk and clearly successful slave trade, is going on, with the markets all over the place, springing up all over the place. But in particular, the targets, the favored slaves, are children, school pupils. They are the new slaves.
Professor Wole Soyinka's views, like a typical voice of an elder statesman, resonate, touching on these critical issues and possible solutions the nation urgently needs. Shinwa Kimbaloye, reporting for Channels Television News.
And following the rising spate of insecurity in the country, former President Olusegun Obasanjo is confident that Nigeria will continue to exist as a country. He says that the cost of dividing Nigeria as a country is more than the cost to make her exist. The former president was speaking at the book launch of His Eminence, Dr. Sunday Mbang.
Whatever happens, we will continue to work for the unity, peace, security, and progress of this country. Nigeria will continue to exist because the cost for us, for Nigeria not to continue to exist, is much more than the cost for us to make Nigeria to continue to exist. There are many people, high and low, who can be described as enemies of Nigeria, but they will not win over those who are friends of Nigeria.
When Newsround returns in just a moment, UN pledges support to Nigerian government as families of victims of the 2011 bombing in Abuja ask government to tackle insecurity. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. The United Nations says it will continue to support the Nigerian government's efforts towards stemming the tide of insecurity. The UN resident coordinator, Mr. Edward Callan, gave this assurance at the 10-year memorial held in honor of those killed in the 2011 bombing of the UN House in Abuja. Family members of the victims are asking the federal government to tackle insecurity in the country.
Solemn moment as officials of the United Nations in Nigeria and family members gathered to honor the memory of those killed in the August 2011 terrorist attack on the UN House in Abuja.
Ms. Felicia Nkoko, UNDP. Mr. Stephen Obama, UNDP.
23 people, including 13 UN workers, guards and visitors, were killed and more than 60 others were injured in the car bombing, which was the first attack on a diplomatic organization in Nigeria.
I'm so pleased we are having this ceremony in the same building that was blown apart by heartless characters. And I'm also pleased that the government, in defiance to terrorism, has actually rehabilitated this building. And we are here today commemorating our colleagues and partners that we lost in this building.
Outside the hall, family members and some UN officials lay wreath in honor of the victims. It's an emotional moment for 10-year-old David Musa, who was just a 1-month-old fetus, as at the time his dad was tragically killed in the bomb blast.
Sometimes I feel like I wish I had a friend like him to talk to share my problem with, but I thank God for life. I thank God for the mom God gave me. She stands there as a man for us, as a father to us.
They also have a message for the government.
They should try all their best to stop all this thing. It's too much. There are many widows in town. Widows are increasing. Bringing up children. We thank God for this side. What of those people that do not have help? How are they going to bring up their children if they remain on the street?
For us, the message is clear. We will not be cowed by violence. It will not stop us to continue to work for humanity. And we will remain defiant to terrorism as far as the UN is concerned.
These flowers laid by relations and colleagues of those killed in the August 26, 2011 attack here at the UN House are signs of respect and honor for the dead. However, what they hope for and pray is that the government here in Nigeria will be able to address the incessant killings and forestall further bloodshed in the land. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
And more concerns are being raised by prominent Nigerians and groups on the security lapses being witnessed across the country. In the third quarterly meeting of the Nigeria Interreligious Council in Abuja, discussions centered on insecurity and the recent attacks in Plateau State.
Government officials, religious and traditional rulers are meeting for the third time this year under the umbrella of the Nigeria Interreligious Council to discuss issues of national security. The past few weeks have seen an upsurge in killings, kidnappings and banditry, especially in the northwest, the northeast and most recently in Jos Plateau State, where scores have died in a recent attack. According to the religious leaders, the situation is made even more worrisome as some of them continue to preach hate while intelligence agencies fail to provide prompt information.
Unknown gunmen invaded people's homes. How can they be unknown? Unknown people kill so many people and then nothing is done. Where are our intelligence agencies? Don't we have a proactive intelligence agency that will think ahead of anybody, any criminal trying to do something?
every form of killing or criminality to attract the response of the government, because life is life. Either in reprisal attacks or otherwise, several attacks had happened again after that of the unfortunate killing of our Muslim brothers. Even yesterday, as you have all seen in the news, August 25, 2021, several people were still killed in Plateau State, which look like reprisal attacks.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, and the Governor of Plateau State, Simon Lalong, promised more responsiveness on the part of the government to address the insecurity challenge in the country. However, they want citizens to support their efforts.
Leaders that are fond of making statements that do not in any way bring succor and comfort to our people, but further deepening discord, ought to be cautioned. And I believe that the security operatives listening to me will take that lead and deal with those steps and put in place mechanism for conflict resolution, as well as dealing with instigators of conflict.
If we are not able to expose the criminals within us, then how will government find solutions to some of these problems?
After about 2 hours of deliberations, members of the council then go into a closed-door session. It is expected that deliberations reached here will help to resolve the situation in the country.
We end news round in Afghanistan, where final evacuation efforts are coming to an end. The Pentagon says there remains credible threats against the major airlift operation at Kabul airport after a suicide attack on a crowd trying to flee the country on Thursday. At least 110 people were killed, including 13 U.S. troops and 2 British citizens. Meanwhile, U.S. officials said on Friday that more than 111,000 people have been evacuated since the airlift began nearly 2 weeks ago.
U.S.-led evacuations from Kabul airport in Afghanistan enters its final stage, following devastating twin bomb attacks on Thursday. The attacks targeted people queuing to flee the country after Taliban militants returned to power. This video shows crowds gathered outside the airport just before the blast. At least 90 people have been killed, mostly Afghan civilians, and 13 U.S. military personnel. At least 150 people were also wounded. Hours earlier, Western governments had warned their citizens to stay away from the airport because of an imminent threat of an attack by ISK, the Afghanistan branch of the Islamic State group. U.S. President Joe Biden has promised to hunt down the perpetrators, jihadist group ISK.
To those who carried out this attack, as well as anyone who wishes America harm, know this: we will not forgive. We will not forget. We will hunt you down and make you pay. I will defend our interests and our people with every measure at my command.
U.S. flags were lowered to half-staff at the White House and on all public buildings and grounds to mark the death of the U.S. troops in the suicide bomb attack. The attack marked the first U.S. military casualties in Afghanistan since February 2020 and represented the deadliest incident for American troops in the country in a decade. The Taliban has condemned the attack but blames it on the presence of foreign troops.
We condemn this attack, although I don't have the complete details, but targeting innocent civilians is an act of terrorism that has to be condemned by the entire world. And as soon as the airport situation is figured out and the foreign forces leave, hopefully we will not have such attacks anymore. It is, again, it is because of foreign forces, the presence of foreign forces, that such attacks take place.
The evacuations and foreign troop withdrawals are designed to be completed by 31st of August, a deadline agreed with the Taliban. While the U.S. says it'll stay till August 31st, The UK has announced it's in the final stages of its evacuation. On Thursday, several countries, including Germany, Spain, Canada, and Australia, announced an end to their evacuation efforts. In total, around 12,500 people were evacuated on Thursday, raising the overall evacuees since the Taliban takeover on 14th of August to over 105,000.
And that's the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shaboale. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.